Hey guys, Long Haul Larry out here at the ADL shop. I have worked on this truck here. I am working on this APU on the black truck. I am going to be driving this truck for a little while, basically until my parts all come in for my white truck to start rebuilding it. Word on that is I have to go pick up the block and everything else. It is completed. It took a lot to get them to do it. I'll be honest with you. I'm very aggravated with the place. But eventually, I guess it is done. Instead of just giving me the word, hey, yes, the block and crank and everything is salvageable, it took well over 2 months. They told me 2 to 3 weeks, and I would call them every couple weeks, and they'd give me the same thing. Oh, it's in line, it's in line. Then the owner was, oh, I'm going to go down there and get this done right away. And then I waited another week and a half, called them back up. It's in line to get done. That's what they told me. I'm like, ugh. I got a little bit aggravated with them. And I was like, listen, the owner of this company told me that he was going to do this. And the lady was like, well, that's my dad. I'm like, okay, your dad told me this is going to be done. And then, I don't know what's going on and stuff. We got a small area. We're really busy, blah, blah, blah. And it kept going on and on. And then her dad was all, I'm going down there right now and I'm going to tell them to pull the things out of the tub and get yours in there right now. And you'll have by Friday. I didn't say anything. They said they would get back to me by Friday with the results. Didn't say anything. I waited almost 2 weeks and I finally called them back up. And the lady put me on hold. She's like, let me check on it. And she came back on. She's like, yep, it's all complete, ready to go. I said, what do you mean complete, ready to go? Is it good? You're supposed to give me these results. And she's like, it's all been machined. It's all ready for pickup. And I'm like, what? And so it's just a big mess and stuff. But I guess it's ready to go. So what can you do? But I actually just had a conversation with the boss, and we're looking around at parts and everything else, and we're trying to get some price comparisons going on. I got to sneeze. And come on. There it was. Excuse me. But I guess the parts are going to be, we can get them ordered, and we could do what's called a critical order, and you got to pay like $600 extra, which I think is baloney. And I guess you can get them in like a month. Otherwise, you're looking at 2 months. So it's going to be that long till I get the parts and everything. It is what it is. So in the meantime, I'm going to be working in the shop here doing odds and ends and everything, but I'm also going to be doing trucking too. And we want to get this APU mounted on this truck. I've never done it before. I've done a lot with APUs and everything else since I've worked here. I've really gotten knowledgeable with APUs and how they work and how to fix things and everything else on them. But I've never installed one. So we have all the parts that are needed except for one part. The place said they got it, and the boss went and picked it up and said, the box seems awful light. And they opened up the box and there was no alternator. So for some reason they got an empty box. So I don't have an alternator for it yet. I do have the old alternator that came off a different truck. And it was throwing codes saying alternator, but I don't know. So he was saying something about put the old alternator on here, just have running. And then maybe if I go down to Mount Crawford or something like that, there's a Thermo King place down there. And I can just get the new alternator crawl underneath there and fix it. I don't know, that's a pain in the butt to do on the road, but whatever. So what we have here is we have a brand new radiator. Yesterday I was down in Mount Crawford picking up a load for another driver. And I brought it back up here to the yard. And the boss has not been able to get pickup tubes. And that's what this is. It's a pickup tubes for this. And basically you drill a hole in the fuel tank and you put this down in, and this is the way that the APU gets fuel is from your diesel tank. So there's got the pickup line. I have the new condenser. I have to fit it into that box there. That's actually not the original one, but the original one was so bad and rusted and holes on it. The boss had this one actually in his garage from a different unit, and it wasn't in terrible shape, so we're going to be using that one. I cleaned it all up and repainted it. I'm going to be using that. I just got to mount that condenser in there. Got a new dryer. Going to put that on there. And I also got a reservoir. What that's for is so that you do not have to tie the APU into the truck coolant. And I'm going to tell you, when I first started messing around with these things, I was like, hey, you want it tied into the truck. And it does make sense. If you're in really cold temperatures, you can run this APU and it will heat the coolant up in the engine block. But I'm going to tell you, it's a pain in the butt. Because anytime this thing develops a leak or something, it also makes the truck leak. If the truck has an issue and leaks or something like that, then the APU can't run. It's a separate unit, and I kind of like it to be separate. And I'm going to be honest with you, the whole time that I have had these trucks and had APU and Big Blue and everything in Wisconsin and everything, I've only plugged that truck in once. And the truck always started in cold weather, no problem, and everything else. I never had the issue where I needed to run the APU to heat up the coolant for the motor. So I never really worried about it. So I would actually rather have it completely separate. So that if something happens with this, with the APU, it does not affect the truck. And if something happens with the truck and you end up broken down or something like that, you can still run the APU. I just like to have it separate. It's an auxiliary power unit. It's APU. And if it's tied together, then they cannot operate if one is having a problem. So I kind of like to have it separate. So basically what this is just a coolant reservoir, and it takes the place of having the lines going all the way up to the truck. It's basically what it is. And it's actually really small, but that's the way they are. Well, guys, we're getting on our way here. We have the condenser mounted. I have a brand new condenser mounted in there. The fan seems to be in really good condition. I do have the air dryer mounted, and I'm just kind of running all the wires and finding out where it's going to be long enough and stuff. I did have a problem. The hoses, the ends of them, they're steel, and they bolt onto the aluminum fittings on the condenser and everything else like that. And wherever the steel connectors were on the aluminum stuff, this thing's so old that they were just rock solid on there. I could not get the nuts loose. I actually ended up having to heat them, trying to get the ends of the hoses loose, and it just wrecked them. There was no way to get around them. So I'm going to have new hoses. But what I'm trying to do is run all the lines so that I know what size hoses I'm going to need to get. But I'm going to get everything else all hooked up. I will not be able to run it because I won't be able to charge it, but I want to get everything done. I have the wires. I got the engine all wired up. I got the wire loom all ran and everything. Everything is all hooked up. But I want to start zip tying the stuff so I can put the covers back on the engine. But I can't do that until I do the fuel lines. And to do the fuel lines, I got to do the fuel pickup tube. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'll show it to you guys afterwards. But basically, it comes with this little template. And what you have to do is you have to drill 2 half-inch holes. And then you got to drill an 1.25-inch hole. And that's how it all fits inside there. And I'll show that to you. So first of all, I got to drill these. And what I got to try to do is drill these without giving a lot of shavings into the engine. Yes, I'm going to get some of the metal into the engine, into the fuel tank. There's nothing I can do about it. I'll try to do my best to keep most of it out of it, but some of it will get in. And, you know, the rest of it, the filters will catch and stuff. So next time I change filters, and we'll apply some little aluminum shavings and stuff. It's what we got to do this. So basically, I have it lined up pretty much with the vent, because that's going to be the center of the top of the tank. And I have taped it on there, and the first thing I'm going to do is take a little center punch, and I'm going to center punch all 3 of these holes. And that way I'll be able to find them after I pull that apart. So now what we do is this is where it's going to come into place. So now we're going to drop our pickup tube down in. And that's going to fit into there. And then this washer goes down in. You wiggle it. And then that big washer up on the top goes over the top, and it has a rubber gasket. And then we just tighten our nut down, and that's going to smush our gasket onto there. So I have to get a wrench and then start tightening this nut down, and that's going to suck it up there like that. And I'll probably point it about like that, and we'll be able to hook up to our pickup line and to our return line. All right, now we got our fuel lines all hooked up and everything. I have the return line just sitting here by the inlet for the tank. I got the pickup tube hooked up, and what I do is I always just stick like a little pick into the fuel pump, and I just hooked the battery charger up to it. Show it in there, and then I put the negative on the other side. And then what I do is, I've already done it, but maybe I'll show you guys. And then I put power to the connector, and you do this until the fuel pump draws all the fuel, and it's going to draw it up, and you're going to hear that, hear the noise. When it doesn't have fuel to it, it's going to have just a quiet noise. But then when it gets the fuel, it's going to make that tick-tick noise. And then when you get solid fuel coming out your line over here, out of your return, when all your air bubbles are gone, and you have just good solid fuel coming out, that means everything is bled. And so then you can pull this back apart. Well, guys, we are back on this APU. I actually had to leave and go do a load. I had to deliver one of John's loads for him. And then I brought another load back down into Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I always get Harrisburg and Hagerstown confused. I did that, and I had to do a break up there because I ran out of hours. And I came on down here today, and I'm back in the shop. Kind of doing a few odds and ends and stuff. We got a pipe an exhaust pipe on a truck that broke off, but the trucker, I guess, had to leave, couldn't wait. So I guess he'll be back on Saturday. But the boss, I left all the hoses out in correct lengths and everything else, and he has gotten all the hoses for me. So I have all the hoses hooked up. I have everything routed. I have everything zip tied, tied off. I got everything on the engine all cleaned up, all ready to be fired up. I think everything is buttoned up. So I have our AC machine hooked up here, and I am pulling a vacuum on the system right now. And I am doing a 45-minute vacuum on it. It's a little bit longer, but it has been open for a while. And so it's probably got a lot of moisture in on that compressor. Moisture is bad for an AC system. And so the longer you vacuum, basically what it does is it pulls all the atmosphere out of the AC system. And it just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling it until it actually burns all the liquid, all the moisture inside, because moisture is bad for an AC system. But the dryer is brand new. The condenser is brand new. The evaporator is the old one, but it seemed to be in great shape. So now I'm just waiting for this vacuum to pull, and then I'll check to make sure that it holds, that we don't have any leaks. And then I can recharge it and try it. All right, guys, we are done charging. Got it complete. So let's fire it up, see what happens. There she goes. Fuel pump is there. There you go. Sounds good. All right. Whoa. Come on, baby. Well, guys, we have gotten this APU all fixed up, I believe. I ended up putting a new AC compressor on it. It's right down there. It's probably original one. I think that's what was making the motor struggle so badly. Put it on there. I got it all charged, working good. I also got an alternator on there. Fires up. There goes cooling. AC, the fan's on up there. You can hear it howling. And the fan in here too is working. I ended up getting a new fan. It's right there. And so it's worked pretty good. I'll take you up beside the truck. I checked the voltage over what the output is. With all the lights on and everything coming to the batteries, it's putting out 13.8 volts, so it's perfect. It's charging good. Well, up inside the truck here. Oh, here I might turn this light on. Help out. But right down here, we got this. That's where the main vent that comes out of it, and we're getting about 40, 39, 30. It's all the way to 32. So she's blowing out really nice and cold. It's really blowing out some nice cold air. And over here, coming out this vent, see, we're doing the same thing. We're 39 degrees coming out of there. And up there in the top, it's also coming out up here, because I have it tied in and all that. That's about 41 that it is up there. So that's pretty good. The controls are all set up and everything. Everything is working. I've actually ran the thing for about 2 hours straight, and everything is working all great. So that's awesome. So we got this APU running. It does smoke a little tiny bit, and I guess that's because of being low hours, huh? This thing has got some high hours. But yeah, it's running. It'd be nice to have an APU in this black truck now, so you can actually not run the truck, not idle it so much and everything. So it'd be nice. So now I'm gonna put the covers all back on and check and top off all the fluids, and this APU will be ready to go. Well, guys, it's all back together. APU's all back together. Double checked oil and the coolant and everything. Everything is all good. I gotta say, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good from what it came from. It was really bad, and that whole bottom cover was gone and rusted and everything. I completely rebuilt that. Took a lot for it to get it running, I gotta say that. You know, you go ahead and buy something out of a junkyard that's been sitting, you know, and how people always love to say, oh, it's low hours, oh, it runs great, ran great. It is what it is. Basically, bought a new condenser, ended up replacing the condenser box thing that mounts on the truck. The boss had an older one that was in a lot better shape. The other one was so rusted out, it was so bad. So I threw that one away. I used that one. It stands off the truck a little bit more, gives a little bit more of a gap. It's probably about that far further off the truck, which I think would let it cool and everything. And then the new hoses, we got 2 brand new hoses. Basically, the hoses that connected up to the condenser up there, they're steel, kind of a connection type thing, and it screws onto the aluminum condenser. And when I tried to unscrew it, there's no way possible you could get them unscrewed. It's been on it too long. All the corrosion between the steel and aluminum. So that's why we ended up having to replace the condenser. Those hose ends, the threads in them were all buggered up. We could not get them clean, so I had to get those 2. And those 2 hoses were very expensive. Those 2 hoses, just that little short one that goes from the bottom of the condenser down to the dryer, and then that one there that goes all the way back down to the compressor. Those 2 hoses were $650. So pretty expensive. Ended up retrofitting and doing a reservoir tank on here to get this completely separate from the truck. I know a lot of people, they like to have them controlled to the truck for Arctic control, so that if the temperature or the coolant in the truck drops so low, then this will automatically start up and warm up the coolant temperature of the block of the engine. But I'm going to tell you guys, I've really never ever come across that situation where I needed it. There's only been a couple times where I've actually had to plug the truck in when I was home. So I just don't really see the whole purpose of it. And then you're tied into both of each other. So if one goes out, the other one is, affected. This way they're completely separate. So if the truck, something happens in the truck, it doesn't run, you can actually run the APU. Something happens at the APU, you can run the truck. It's completely separate. So we got that. We got a brand new radiator fan. The other one just was not working. And everything was all connected up right. It spun fine and stuff, but it just would not work. So the engine was overheating the first time I tried to fire it up and everything. And the fan was just not kicking on and cooling it down. So we got a brand new fan there. Got a brand new alternator on it. The output is perfect. We got 13.8 coming right to the wires to the battery with all kinds of things on in the truck. It's putting in 13.8. That's perfect. It can go up to like 14.1 and stuff, but there's a lot of things drawn off it, so 13.8 is pretty good. So I got a brand new alternator on here, and we also got a brand new compressor, the AC compressor. The other compressor, I mean, it's probably been this was from 2008, and it was probably an original compressor. And I pulled the other one off. I pulled the lines off. You could see like inside the ports and everything inside there. You can see like rust and junk inside there. So the compressor was just sitting too long and stuff, and kind of hoo-babbaed and everything inside of it. So now we got everything basically brand new. The only thing is the motor, and it does smoke just a little bit. It seems to be getting better. Maybe with the rings and stuff like that, everything is working in a little bit better. The valves and stuff, that might be getting a little bit better. It is getting better over the time that I run it, but it has just a little tiny bit of smoke. But I'm just gonna keep an eye on it and keep running at it. I'm actually going trucking tomorrow, and I've been trucking and stuff pretty much like every other day. I've been going out and doing loads. Mostly what I've been doing is delivering local loads around here that drivers are brought in and dropped in the yard, and then I go and deliver the loads, and then a lot of times I pick up another little short haul coming back or something. I've been just doing that, just feeling the legs out on a black truck, just giving it a chance, saying, listen, if you want to do something, now's the time to do it. You're close to home. And I have had a few situations. I had a couple of hose clamps and different things that have gone on. But it seems to be up good now. So I'm actually going trucking tomorrow. I'm going to pick up a load, and I'm going to Texas. It's going to be a big test for everything. And I got the APU now too, so hopefully I won't have to run the truck the entire time. I can actually sleep. I can't sleep very good with a running truck. I never have been able to. I don't know. There's something about it. I just can't sleep very soundly. So now with the APU, I should be all good to go. But that is a good looking APU for what I had. About that. Shop here, their compressor started up. But yeah, everything else is done. The only thing, and I marked off everything on the board, the whole list on the board, everything's marked off. And all that is fixed up. The only thing left on the board is tires. I'm gonna be honest with you, these are the tires from the white truck. Been sitting around for a long time. They were not in the greatest shape possible. They were just kind of a mixed match of tires and everything else. And the whole reason why they're on here was because the tires were on here were so junky. But it shook. It had a really bad shake to it. And what I did is I mismatched all these kind of different tires from the white truck and put them all on here and everything else. And got the truck decent enough where it wasn't shaking so bad. Because the boss was going to sell the truck, he said. So we're just kind of putting it together so he can sell it and get it down the road. But now we're actually keeping the truck, and so he actually has 8 brand new tires waiting for this truck. In the morning, I have to run over to the tire place here in Frederick, drop the truck off, and they're going to put a full set of tires on this thing. These are some pretty old rotten tires. I've already actually blown this tire on the trip to Wisconsin. I blew that tire and ended up having to put my spare tire trailer on there to get back here, and we put another junk tire we had laying around here. But it's just, they're just old tires and everything else. And when I want to take it off down to Texas and 105, 110 degree heat or whatever it is down there with junk tires on there rolling down the highway, we're going to blow tires. So we're going to get some brand new tires put on here, and that should help out a lot. So the black truck is ready to go trucking. See what happens. I'm going to be stretching legs and see how it holds up. So there you go. But that APU is looking really good. I like it a lot. It really came out really nice for what it was. So I'm going to let you guys go. I hope that everybody out there is having themselves a great day, great night watching this here video. And if you're not, certainly just try that all over again tomorrow. I'll catch you later. Bye.